Hey, Mack, John Dale, Winston-Salem Journal. Was curious, what is the most difficult part of being a head coach in this day and age with, namers, likeness, transfer portal, all that? Is it much more difficult than maybe last few years?
Yes, because you're really multitasking so much more now than ever before. Roster management's more difficult than it's ever been. With the COVID year, you're not sure how many you're going to be able to sign. We were just told the other day you've got unlimited initials again this year, and we've been recruiting for 6 months. There's a lot of change at the NCAA level, so there's a lot of different rules. We were just told we could bring in 120 for preseason, and so we've got kids now that we told couldn't come in until school started. They got to go back and start. How many can you sign? How many did you leave? How many are going to the NFL? How many are going to be in the transfer portal? Who's going to graduate and leave early? It's and then NIL is just a totally different situation, and it's more about the collective. We're really lucky that our guys have handled NFL. It hadn't disrupted our locker room, but I'm hearing nightmares across the country of kids being offered money, not being paid. They're getting in the transfer portal. I'm hearing locker rooms are disrupted, and it's I think when people ask me after my 5 years out, what was the biggest change when I got back, the biggest change was early signing day. Because you're having official visits now in the spring, and guys are committing. And in the past, if you think about it, we'd have some guys come unofficially to a couple of games, and then you had January to have official visits, and they all signed in February. And now that's just all happening. We're recruiting guys from the class of 26. So everything's just speeded up. But then you add NIL, which is a great thing in so many ways. We talk about the negatives all the time, but these guys have a better situation right now than any athletes have ever had, because they do have a chance to make some money, which none have done in the past. But you add that and transfer portal and the collision of the two and tampering, those are things that make it more difficult to be a head coach.
Coach, to your right side, fourth row. Copenhaver with Locked On ACC. Coach, your offense and defense seem to be night and day at times in terms of the offense setting records and whatnot, while the defense finished last in a few categories. And then on top of that, replacing all the starters in the secondary except one, and the defensive back coach in Drake Live. How do you expect to retool there while still expecting to compete and do great things in terms of having a good season and all those good things to win?
Yeah, we had a disastrous game up at App State, and I know I was in the media for 5 years, and you deal with so many different people. When you have an awful game like that, that used to be the narrative. And then we did the same with Notre Dame. We didn't play well in either of those games, and both of them had good offensive teams. But after that, we played much better in the ACC. We averaged giving up 24 points a game, which is pretty good modern day, at least middle of the pack, or a little bit better. I do feel good about our secondary. We were able to hire Jason Jones, who worked with Charlton Warren, one of our defensive coordinators at Indiana, so that's been a seamless transition. So I think we're going to be good on defense. And we got to be more aggressive. We got to be more aggressive up front. We got to stop the run more on first down, because now people are if it's a 3rd down and 7, they're going to go for 4th down. So they're going to try to run the ball on 3rd down or hit a short pass and then go for a 4th and 4. So the game's changed. But Coach Cedric's got the 2nd year under his belt. The staff will be good together, and I feel like we'll be good. And we'll get tested early. We've got a really tough schedule to start the season with some very physical teams. Some teams, South Carolina's going to run the ball, App State will run the ball, Minnesota's going to run the ball, and Pitt's going to run the ball. So it'll be a great 4 games to start out to see if we've improved like we think we have on defense.
Back to your left side, fourth row, almost going towards the wall. Hey, Coach, David Glenn from the North Carolina Sports Network and the David Glenn Show. As you know, Drake is the first Carolina Player of the Year since a guy named Lawrence Taylor. And you have a new coordinator who lost some of his targets to the NFL, and yet you say you expect to see a better version of Drake this year. What goes into that kind of optimism under those circumstances?
But David, I haven't seen you since Friday, so it's been a while. Drake had a great year last year. Best freshman year of any freshman I've ever seen. And he just got better and better and better, and people didn't realize till 10 days before the opening game we didn't announce Drake as a starter. So for him to take the role of leader and lead his football team like he did and be consistent each week was pretty phenomenal. Then after the season, Drake came in to me and said, help me with these things. These are things I need to improve, and that's who he is. That's why he's such a great player, is he was raised in a family of champions. He was raised in a family of athletes. His dad was a great quarterback. So he's always looking at what I can do better instead of patting himself on the back. And he's a little bit like me. We have to be careful with him because he's too hard on himself. And he's always, I didn't do this right. Well, let's talk about what you did right too, so we can do that. So I think that he was involved in the hiring of Chip Lindsey. We've also got Clyde Christensen there, who coached the best quarterbacks in the NFL. We've also got Freddie Kitchens, who coached 2 #1 draft choices at quarterback. So we've got a lot of great help around Drake as well. As far as losing, you lose Antoine Green, you lose Josh Downs, you lose some powerful players, but then you bring in, you've got some good players because both of them were hurt some, neither one played in the bowl game, and we had good players step up, and you can, whether it's J.J. Jones or Gavin Blackwell or Kobe Pastor, or, you can talk about those guys that stepped up last year at different times, but we also bring in Nate McCullum and we bring in Tez Walker. And Nate was very successful in this league at Georgia Tech. He's got great speed, he's tough. He can run it as well as throw it, so he can make yards after catch. So he's got some similarities to Josh that we lost. And Tez Walker's got the most amazing story I've ever seen. Here's a young guy that signs with East Tennessee State, hurts his knee. They gray shirt him, so he decides to go to UNC Central instead of East Tennessee State. COVID year hits. He can't play, so he transfers to Kent State. He has a great couple of years at Kent State, and then his whole coaching staff leaves. His grandmother's really sick. She's in Charlotte. She's never seen him play. So he transfers back here because that's where he wanted to be in the first place. That's where the transfer portal is so good to help kids get where they should be in the end. And he also is going to have his grandmother see him play for the first time here in Charlotte when we play South Carolina, and then she'll be able to drive to the home games. And I think we've got 7 or 8 games in the state of North Carolina. So praise the Lord for her that she's going to be able to see him play for the first time. And I think both of those guys are really good. So along with the cast of guys that we've got that are talented, we've added 2 guys like the 2 we lost.
Coach to your right, first row.
Cedric, Carolina Blitz. Coach, you mentioned Tez Walker and Nate McCollum. You also bring in a new play caller and Chip Lindsey. How has the synergy on offense been with Chip so far? And you run a similar offense as you did last year. There's going to be some different wrinkles than last year. How has that been so far?
Yeah, Terrence, Drake can answer that as well. But when I was looking at a new guy to come in, I wanted to keep our passing game. It's been really good. So I started looking at guys first that had background with the air raid offense passing game, and Chip Lindsey averaged 33 points a game when he was calling plays as a coordinator at Arizona State and Auburn and Southern Miss. So he started this in high school. So he wants to keep the same passing game with a few tweaks, and he and Drake have tweaked what we're doing along with Lonnie Galloway, who's our passing game coordinator. And then you start looking at our running game. We were really good the first 2 years. We're best in the league. Last 2 years we've been middle of the road. We haven't been as good. And, running game helps our defense. Running game's our quarterback's best friend with pass protection. And Chip had been involved with Gus Malzahn at Arizona or at Auburn and at Central Florida. And they run the ball so well that I think you'll see us much better on offense in the running game, and very similar to what we've been in the passing game.
Coach to your left, first row with the camera.
Coach James Work408 with CallDT.com. And obviously you've seen this conference from the inside of Carolina twice, and you've seen it as an analyst on the outside. What can you say about the state of the ACC in your opinion as we get set to embark on a new schedule and divisions, and just what your takeaways have been?
Yeah, Dave, I think the ACC is in great shape. The whole concern is finances. That's what everybody's looking at now, and with the TV market changing so rapidly, your all's lives are changing all over the place with radio and TV and newsprint. We're at a time when there's a lot of change, not only in your business, but college football. And the thing that we've got to do in the ACC is keep looking at how we can make more money. The league's great. We've got some great teams. I think we've been to 9+ teams have been to bowls since 2015 or something. So there's a lot better teams top to bottom in this league that get credit because Clemson's been so dominant. They've gotten all the credit. But there's been some really good teams, and so I feel like the league's in great shape. I know that the commissioner and all the presidents and athletics directors are all looking at how to make more money and how to enhance that package so we will have the same amount of money as the other leagues as they move forward.
Coach, your last question will come all the way up the aisle to the right, and David Teal in the back of the house.
Mack, David Teal from the Times-Dispatch in Richmond. You mentioned the Notre Dame game earlier. I believe you have 4 more years of playing them, not in a row, but before the contract ends. Do you like that kind of frequency? Do you like the arrangement of the games against the Irish for the conference and for North Carolina?
Yeah, David, I always like playing Notre Dame because they're a great brand and a great team. And it gives you a chance to increase your program, because when they walked out of there last year, they were more physical than we were on defense, and it showed all of us we need to get better. We got to recruit better. We got to coach better. We got to play better. And Notre Dame's that kind of brand. They've had a run against the ACC teams, and we have to step up and start competing better against them to get where we want to go. As far as the conference was concerned, I like the divisions. I've always liked that because I like to have a division champion and then have that champion play in the ACC against the other division champion. We went to across the board like we're doing now in the Big 12 before I left, and you can very well have 2 teams play in the championship game that just played, and that was less likely the other way, so I liked it much better.
Coach, thank you. You can switch places with John Copenhaver, and we'll spend a few minutes with our tight end. Once again, if you would identify yourselves and the agency you're with, that would be great. And then we will reset the clock for John for our 5 minutes. So we'll go right side, John, 4th row.
Hey there, John. Kenzie Gibbs with Locked On ACC. In terms of, we talked about Josh Dowd and Antoine Green leaving and all that good stuff, but 3 of the top 6 pass catchers from the team last year are in that tight end room, in yourself and 2 other highly touted guys. How have the tight ends played such a big part in the passing game, and is that expected to continue going forward for North Carolina?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good question. As Coach Brown said, Antoine Green and Josh Downs, they weren't able to do it all for every single game, and I think that's where the tight ends came in. And we didn't really look back. We took the opportunity and we just went for it, and it worked out really well for us, and we're excited to have another good year coming forward.
John, your next question will come from here at the podium. Why is appearing on so many special teams units important to you, and why should it be important?
Yeah, no, I think special teams is a huge game changer. Coach Brown always says that if you have 1 or 2 great plays on special teams, that can really turn the game around, and it really can. And I think, just having the drive to be on special teams and, trying to just do the best on that will obviously help the game out. And I think that, having that drive kind of translate to tight end and kind of gives that for all of us. So I think being on special teams is huge, and I think it really just kind of goes full circle with the game, and it all comes around.
To your left, 1st row.
John Dan Tortora with CallDT.com. Kind of going off of that, being a reserve tight end, working on special teams to come up for you. Just what you can say about what you've learned about that adversity and the journey that you've had to earn the role that you have right now.
Yes, sir. The first couple of years I didn't really play a whole lot, and I knew from high school coaches they were saying if you're not getting in at tight end, then you got to work your butt off to try and get on special teams, and that's exactly what I did. And just came to practice every day with my head down and wanted to get the work in and wanted to be on special teams, somewhere that I could get on the field, and special teams was the way to go. And so I just think being able to do that has getting translated out onto the tight end position.
John, let's go back to the right side, 4th row.
Kenzie Gibbs with Locked On ACC. Yourself, Kamari Morales, and Bryson Nesbitt all bring very different things to the tight end position. Can you talk to me about what each of you bring as individuals and how that synergy and chemistry of what you all bring on the field together and individually positively impacts the team?
Yeah, no, so I think all three of us are, great tight ends. I think Bryson Nesbitt brings more of the wide receiver aspect to the game. I think all three of us are great matchups on linebackers, safeties, and I think we all have our little bits and pieces of the game. And I'll probably be more blocking and receiving too, but I think all three of us are great aspects of the game and really have some good matchups out there.
John, again from the podium, I want to go back to special teams. What mentality do you have to be a successful special teams player?
To be honest, and just summing it up, I think you just got to be savage. You really got to stick your nose in there and be able to be physical and take hits and give hits. And I think it's whether you have two choices, you can either pick to be the nail or the hammer. And that's a mindset you have to have going into it.
You're getting some smiles and some head nods from your teammates and your coach, so obviously that's a good answer. Your last question, John, to the left, far left, gentleman with his hand in the air.
Hey, John, you guys obviously are not opening the season with any cupcakes or anything like that. Playing South Carolina here is a difficult matchup. How do you think that'll ramp up the focus and attention during preseason camp?
Yeah, I think having that bad taste in our mouths from 2 years ago here, I think that'll really give us some motivation and stuff. But I mean, it's and to me an old rivalry, and I think it'll be a great game. I don't think guys are going to have to be motivated for this. I think everyone's going to come in here with a chip on their shoulder and get ready to work, and just got to focus one game at a time. But we're all very excited for this game, Charlie.
John, thank you. You can replace yourself with Cedric Gray for about 5 minutes or so. Folks, a reminder, please identify yourselves and the agency you're with. It'll help everybody in the room and everybody watching at home. So first question for Cedric. Who would like it from the room, please? We'll go to our first row here. First row down this way. Cedric, gentleman in the white shirt.
Cedric, Terrence Carolina Blitz. You've heard a lot about how bad the defense was last year. Does that give you a little bit extra edge, a little bit extra motivation coming in this year to prove that this year's defense isn't last year's defense?
Yeah, definitely for sure. It definitely leaves a bad taste in my mouth, when people kind of talk about our team and talk about how bad of a defense we've been at sometimes. Especially being the leader as a defense, I kind of take that personal. But yeah, I think this year, as leader of defense, with the guys this offseason, we've been really working hard. Just becoming better football players, getting in the film room, becoming smarter. I think now that we got a year under our belt with Coach Cedric and this new defense, I think you're going to see a defense that's a lot more comfortable and confident in what we're doing. So I'm very excited for this year. I definitely think you'll see a better version of our defense this year.
Cedric, from the podium, follow up on that just a little bit. What do you and the guys do off the field to make sure that you've got that bond, that rapport when you get back onto the field?
I would say just we have a camaraderie with each other. I believe that we do a lot of things with each other. We work out with each other, we watch film with each other, we live with each other, we hang out with each other. So I think it's just that camaraderie and that bond that kind of keeps us very close with each other.
Thank you. Back to the fourth row to the right.
Jensen Gibbs with Locked On ACC. Cedric, you were mentioned as a guy who was all ACC, who was mentioned on some All-American teams, who is on a bunch of watch lists this year, had 130 tackles, well over 130 tackles last year. What was it that motivated you to come back to Chapel Hill, despite some whispers about you being taken fairly early in the draft, and you chose to come on?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, I think I didn't hit my ceiling as far as college football. I feel like I still had a lot of things that I could improve on personally. But not only that, not winning an important bowl game or an ACC championship here was, you know, very like important to me, and I haven't been able to do that since I've been here. You know, I'm going into my 4th year, so it's just doing my regular 4 years. So I don't think I was just like in a particular rush. You know, I think it was just about timing, and like I think, you know, this year is the perfect time for me.
Left side, Cedric, gentleman in the teal shirt, I guess.
Justin Jones, CarolinaCarrier.com. You were a starter here in high school in this city, and you're going back into a senior year, starting and playing in this city. What does it mean to you personally to kind of put a stamp on the city as you come back to play your senior year?
Yeah, I think it's just a huge honor to kind of always come back to the city where I'm from and kind of play here. You know, lots of friends and family, you know, wants to come to the games and different things like that. But it's definitely a huge honor for me, you know, to be from this state, to play for Carolina, and to be that representation. So it's definitely very exciting.
Cedric, your last question, the right side, gentleman in the white shirt.
Jalen Harold with Inside Carolina. Looking at the defensive rankings last year in ACC, North Carolina was last. So how does the defense want to work on improving the pass rush this year?
Yeah, I think we've done a lot of different things this offseason to kind of improve that. I think first and foremost, I think our D-line has improved tremendously, kind of working with them throughout the spring and the summer. But not only that, but I think we've added, you know, some new wrinkles to the pass rush game. And not only new wrinkles, but I think, like I said, this is our 2nd year in the defense. You know, I think everybody has a better understanding of how we're trying to attack teams and different things like that. So I definitely do think it'll be better this year.
Cedric, thank you. You can swap places with Drake, and we'll spend about 5 minutes with Drake and Maye. Folks, again, if you would, please identify yourselves and the outlet you're with, and we'll see if we get a couple new faces and voices. So left side, Drake, about the 4th row there. Your pick.
Drake, QCB Fox Sports Charlotte. Drake, clearly you're the best quarterback in ACC and top 5 in the country. And the way the heel season ended last year has been a leader. Are you over that? Are you just motivation going into this season? And if you guys get back to the ACC title game, would you want to see Clemson again to get some get back? Or doesn't matter who the opponent is?
Yeah, no, I think, you know, obviously the way we ended last year, you know, lost a lot of close games. Anyway, in a season like that, you know, usually the motivation, you know, that's all we talk about. You know, we're 9-1 rolling into Georgia Tech, and you know, we finished 9-5. So just finding ways to, you know, use that motivation, but at the same time get over that hump, and you know, look forward to this season. You know, we're excited. You know, that's our goal to get back to the ACC championship. I don't think coach or any guy would care who we play as long as we're in it. So that's the main goal. That's what we're working towards, and you know, I think, you know, we got to start off on the right foot against South Carolina, and from there, just go right ahead.
Drake to your right, 5th row.
Hi, Drake. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Okay, MNLA, ESPN Charlotte, 7:30 the game. Being such a pivotal sports figure on campus as QB1, what are your thoughts on the current mental health crisis among collegiate athletes across the nation right now?
Oh no, I think you know, I think mental health is a huge thing. I think, you know, along with, you know, physical health, mental and physical health together, that means the world as an athlete. I think, you know, North Carolina, I think, especially the university, you know, itself does a great job giving us mental health days, just as, you know, not only athletes but students. You know, we're students at the end of the day, we're student athletes, so just having days where, you know, we're off from class and we can just focus on, you know, like I said, you know, calling some family members or getting in touch with somebody and just worry about mental health. You know, I think Coach Brown does a great job. Dwight Holler kind of runs our mental health. He's a former player in North Carolina. He does a great job. We have so many resources nowadays in college, especially as college football players. Just, you know, not being afraid to, you know, reach out, and you know, as us teammates and friends, just you see somebody, you know, the big thing is just asking if they're okay, and, you know, really have, you know, genuine conversation with them. That's the big thing on mental health. You know, have somebody there for you for sport, and you know, obviously mental health, you know, a huge thing in the sport and just in daily life for everybody. So
Back to your left, 4th row.
Hey, Drake, Gene Snappenkoff from the Post and Courier in Charleston. Like Coach Brown was saying, with the new additions to the staff, it seems like you've been really hit with some cool new knowledge with Coach Christensen, Lindsey, and Kitchen. What's that been like working with those guys?
Oh, it's been awesome. You know, first off, Coach Lindsey, right off the bat, hitting it off. Coach Lindsey's been awesome. Just getting a new kind of, like I said, new knowledge from different offensive coordinator. Obviously, Coach Longo was great, but just hearing somebody's up his voice, pick up new things. Obviously, that's the great thing about having a new offensive coordinator in there. He's calling the shots, and you get to hear, his perspective of things, maybe different from Coach Longo's, or maybe the same, and you get to kind of, get the full swing of, what two great offensive coordinators think. Coach Christensen, he's coached, Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck and Tom Brady, so just sitting there with some tape, watching old drills with them, just picking up little things. He's coached the best, so just trying to, pick up whatever I can from him. And Coach Kitchen was just, a few years back, head coach of the Browns, so, I think he knows a few things, and having him in there, coaching John and the guys, and we got a great room in there, so just, like I said, trying to soak it all up. And just ask all the questions. I was asking the other day about Bakers and those guys that coach, their mentality and, competitor. And I think, you never, no questions are bad questions with guys like them. So just, soaking up what I can, and, at the end of the day, that's what, kind of brings all together, sport football. So just, like I said, asking them.
Stay on your left, first row.
Hey, how's it going? 11 KCC Every Nation. When I think about you, I kind of think of the movie, The Program, and then the Heisman candidacy, like Kane and Sable. Are you able to dial in and focus on the season when you're getting a lot of Heisman hype, you're also getting a lot of NFL draft hype? How are you able to just zero in and focus on this upcoming season?
Yeah, I think, like I said, just keep the main thing, that's winning games. And I think that's, what all coach says, we try to win all the games, so, all those personal accolades come with, winning football games and, having North Carolina, being up there in the competition with ACC championship, bigger things. So, it starts with, like I said, it starts with football, winning games. And like I said, last year was competing, and coach said 10 games, or 10 days before the game, not the starter. So just, find that same mentality that, got me here, not lose sight of that. Don't lose sight of, what got me here and the hard work and, staying extra growing and, same things, not let the, like I said, the hype and that stuff take away from, what we're really here for, that's playing football.
Drake, your last question, still left side, about the fourth row towards the wall.
Hey, Drake, Tony Syracuse from the Last Word on Sports. The ACC is an elite level conference in terms of quarterback play in particular. I'm sure Mack would want to hear you say you're just focusing on yourself, but in reality, with just a few of us here, you ever wake up on Sunday morning, go on your media sites and see what the other quarterbacks in the conference did compared to what you did on Saturday?
No, yeah, I don't think I, wake up Sunday morning and go check it. I think you obviously see some highlights and you see, they had a big game, but I think the cool thing about it is, like I was just telling John, I know about all the quarterbacks in here. I just said what's up to him and Brennan and Mitch. So just getting, you get to know all these guys down at the Manning passing camp, and basically was rooming with Jordan Travis. So you get to see these guys, meet them, and they're all great dudes, great players, and kind of create that quarterback bond. It's kind of hard to explain, but this position's special. So you get a chance to. We're all going through the same thing, so kind of, have somebody there that's going through the same thing, and just kind of, relate and stuff. I wouldn't say I look up Sunday morning, but definitely some big games from the guys, and may send them a text. Like last year, Sam Hartman, I knew Sam Hartman well, so when we had some big games going, and send them a text and stuff.
Drake, thank you. North Carolina, good luck.
Thank you.